Welcome to Self-Publishing with ALLi from the Alliance of Independent Authors. This week, it's our member Q&A, where ALLi members have their most pressing publishing questions analyzed and answered. And here are your hosts, Ronn and Sacha Black.
Hello, and welcome to Self-Publishing with ALLi. This is the member Q&A podcast. We answer all of your member questions from conceiving an idea all the way down to marketing, promotion, the business of writing, and we are here to help. My name is Ronn, and I'm joined by Sacha. What's up, Sacha?
Hello. How are you?
I am getting over a cold, but I'm fantastic.
Good.
How about you?
I'm okay. I'm sort of shocked that we're here again. These monthly sort of check-ins are always like, how has it been another month this year, another month? But yes, I'm good. Chundering, that's not the right word. Chuntering? No.
Chuntering.
Bumbling along. Let's just say that.
Okay.
Clearly, my brain is bumbling along and not 100% with it today. But no, I'm good. I'm working on my next book, which always brings me joy. So life's looking good.
Hey, good. Yeah, working on a book as well. Doing short stories and YouTube videos. I'm preparing to return to YouTube, so that
excellent.
Is kind of fun for me. So I don't know if I've even talked about my YouTube channel. It's called Author Level Up.
Yeah, so I've
no
watched
shameless promotions, but
yeah, I've definitely watched a couple of your videos over the years. But yeah, it's nice to see that you're coming back.
yeah, it's fun, but it's a lot of work. I mean, just like writing. I mean, it's a lot. Like if you want to do it right, it's a lot of like coordination. You know, because you got to figure out your schedule, right? So like I used to do weekly videos. I don't think I can do it that anymore. It's just kind of crazy. But like what is my video for the next 2 weeks? And, you know, how do I plan it? And what do people want? And what sort of questions do I need to answer? And, you know, is there broccoli in my teeth when I'm recording? You know, I mean, just all sorts of things that you got to think about. That's always fun.
100%. I suppose that was a bit like my very micro videos on TikTok.
Yeah. It's the same. It's very, I mean, it's a very similar thing, right? I mean, you have to know what people are going to want to watch, because you don't want to create a dud and just get it out there and it's got 10 views.
Yeah, exactly.
10 years from
100%.
now.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we announced a theme last month. We're doing a first, and we said we were going to answer everyone's marketing and promotion questions. And thank you to everybody who submitted questions. We got an influx of questions, and hopefully we'll be able to get to them all. And so any that we don't get to this month, we will answer next month. Next month, we're going to be taking your business questions. Okay, so please submit questions around the business of writing, any questions that you have about that. And we'll kind of make next month a hybrid episode. We'll do overflow of any bit of marketing items that we don't get to today. And then any questions you have on the business of writing. And Sacha, maybe you and I can kind of talk about things that are going on in our businesses as well that
cool.
might be helpful and insightful for listeners. Okay, so the first question is from Mary. And Mary is thinking about submitting to various contests. And wants to know, does ALLi have a list of approved book contests? And just wanting to know where I can find that.
We do indeed. And it is on our website. And I'm pretty sure that Michael is going to give you the link for that. But they're all rated, aren't they?
Yes, they are. You know, it's kind of, I don't know what the best way to say this. It's kind of we've got our ratings directory, which everybody knows, right? selfpublishingadvice.org/ratings. Everybody knows we have a ratings directory, but the ratings directory has a little brother, and that is our contest or our award ratings. So it's selfpublishingadvice.org, and it's right on the top. We probably should create a short link. I'll ask John to do that. Probably should be like selfpublishingadvice.org/awards or something like that. But it's literally right on the top navigation of our website. You can't miss it. And it's exactly like our ratings directory, where, I mean, it's the same kind of table, everything, where we have contests that we recommend, contests where maybe you should have caution, and then contests that maybe you might want to sit out, just due to some concerns that we have had. So just go to selfpublishingadvice.org and then scroll down, or at the top of the page, look at award ratings, and yeah, there's a lot of good information. John does a lot of good information. He does a really good job monitoring contests and giving you guys his opinion on that. So be sure to check that out. Okay, next question is from Sue. And Sue asks, can you change the price on your Amazon books without changing the price printed on the back of the book?
Yes, you can. I mean, I don't think this is an ALLi recommendation, but it's certainly from my personal experience. I try not to print the price on the back of the book for that very reason.
Yeah, me too.
I haven't found that there is any kind of impairment towards book stores or anything not buying because there's no price on it. Like, they still buy, and actually I think they prefer being able to set their own pricing anyway. So I would recommend going forward that you don't put it on the back of your book. But in terms of actually answering your question, you can always change your price on Amazon to whatever you feel like. That is no issue. And yeah, of course, that's not going to change the price on the back of the book. But yeah, you can change the price on Amazon. It's not a problem.
Yeah, I agree. That's one reason I don't put the price on the barcode either. I have the same concerns as you, especially, if you ever need to change your price, or if you ever wanted to run a sale, or, just there's all sorts of reasons you may need to change your price. So yeah, agree 100%. Okay. And also, that was another thing I was going to say, a cheeky comment while you were talking. Nobody has ever showed up at my house and said, why did you change the price on, why don't you keep the price in your barcode? So, yeah. And I've never heard of anybody getting called to the principal's office on that. So I'd say do it and, see what happens. Okay. Next question is from Nancy. Nancy is looking for a mentor to assist me in the process, and wants to know where she might find a writing mentor or a publishing mentor.
Does she clarify whether it is the craft side or if it's the publishing side that she's after?
Well, Nancy she says she's an 86-year-old retired educator, and for 35 years worked with a bunch of writers, like around teaching arts and music and drama. And so looking for a mentor to assist in the process of publishing. So just needing some help with the publishing process.
So, I mean, given that she's got that much experience, I'd say she's probably very capable of doing it herself, but I hear that she wants some help. So, I mean, you can go about it one of two ways, can't you? You can either say, okay, I would prefer not to spend oodles of money on this because, the act of publishing itself is actually free. So, that's why I'm always hesitant to send people to people who are going to charge them to help them publish. But that's my personal opinion. So the first thing that you could do is go, ask in the forum if somebody might be able to spare an hour, and hop on a Zoom, or see if there's anybody in the ALLi forum. Everybody's so helpful and lovely and kind and supportive in that. I'd be very surprised if you didn't get somebody say, I can spare half an hour to give you a call and talk you through X, Y, and Z, or whatever. The other thing is that, there are companies that can help you, and there are other authors that will do consults as well. You might have to have a little look in the community and have a little look on some of their websites and stuff. But, I used to do that. I used to help talk people through the process. So it might be something you could do, say, for example, looking on maybe Joanna's podcast, or looking on, I'm trying to think what other podcasts there are where they have guests, but writing type podcasts where people, go and talk and give advice, and some of them have services. So it might be that there are some people on there that might do one-off consults, or, a couple of consults with you. If it was the craft side, I would say most developmental editors will probably do or might not be part of their standard package, but they would probably be willing for you to pay an hour extra, for them to do a Zoom at the end for you to ask any questions or whatever. There's usually developmental editors, that's something that they would do. But there are also writing coaches that sort of do developmental edits with you as you write and also hold you to account. So writing coach is probably like the phrase, or that's probably the phrase that I would use to look up. But I would caution you on necessarily spending lots of money on finding somebody. The other thing is that there are plenty of amazing members of the community, like Michael, who have YouTube videos. And there are a ton of YouTube videos on YouTube that will talk you through the process. It's pretty simple. Essentially, once you've got your draft, you need to format it. And there are lots of programs like Vellum, Atticus, etc. There are free templates where you can drop your text into. It will spit out the correct file format. Then it's a matter of loading it, to the distribution sites like Amazon or Kobo or wherever. Adding in all your metadata, your keywords, what's a subtitle, is it part of a series, kind of information. Then setting your price and hitting publish. So yeah, those are kind of my summary, I would say.
Yeah. I think you can find somebody in the community who would be willing to donate their time. And if you're willing to spend some money for the help, just make sure you don't spend too much on this. I mean, you want to pay a fair price, right? But there are some, for lack of a better phrase, unseedy individuals out there. So you just want to make sure that you're working with somebody who is willing to help, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Next question is from Teresa. And what are ALLi's top 5 recommendations for review sites for my new book?
Oh, I mean, do we have review sites on our ratings? I don't think we do, do we?
Let me look.
Yeah, so I'm going to charge ahead, assuming that we don't have them on there, and hopefully Michael can correct me in a bit. There are some big ones. So, for example, NetGalley is a really big platform. What I would say about NetGalley is it's rather expensive, and a lot of traditional publishers use it. They do not differentiate costings between traditional publishers and indie authors. So it is going to cost you a lot of money. And the other thing that I would say is that on average, the reviewers that use NetGalley are pretty harsh in terms of how they review. They do not beat around the bush, and they have pretty high standards. So I would just give you a word of caution. But they will do it, and you will get reviews. One of the most important things about NetGalley is having a really good cover. Like, a lot of readers go on there and, choose books by the cover. The other places are places like Book Sprouts, Hidden Gems. I even think places potentially like Story Origin and Book Funnel may also run promos where you can group together with other authors and try and sort of get reviews and things. But that might be time limited, or you might have to just do a bit of digging around. But I don't know if ALLi, did you manage to find anything?
Yeah, I did. We do.
Oh, okay.
So it's not a specific category per se, but it's let's see who. So if I look up Kirkus, for example, waiting for it to load. Okay, yeah. So Kirkus is listed under. Actually, there's no category listed, so we'll work on that and make sure that we address that particular issue. But what I will say is, I agree with everything you said, Sacha, and I think it's important to make a distinction that there are review services like editorial reviews which are generally something that you have to pay for and submit for an editor, like a Kierkegaard, right? For them to review your book. That's okay. But like you said, Sacha, it can be expensive. So you got to really weigh the costs and the potential. You know, you really want to hope the editor likes the story, right? If they review it. Now, there's also the other sites that you mentioned, Book Sprout, Story Origin, I think there's Hidden Gems, Book Sirens, where those are reader review sites. So you can actually go directly to readers. And, you know, they're copacetic with Amazon's guidelines because you're not paying for reviews. You're just simply paying to post your book on the site for people to download if they want to review it. So that they're okay. But it's important to never, you know, outside of those types of reputable services, never pay for reader reviews. Right?
What was that word? Copacetic.
Copacetic. Yeah.
What does that mean? Oh, okay.
Means
wow.
Cool. Yeah, I'm using vintage words today, I guess.
That is a new word to me. I'm going to have to go and Google that afterwards.
Oh, indeed. Okay. Well, I might look it up in the dictionary now because, you know, we all got to learn some things. And, you know, we're writers.
Yeah, I made my kid add a dictionary app to his phone because he told me I was corny the other day because I was giving him a pep talk in air quotes. And I was like, boy, do you even know what that word means? And he was like, well, I know what it means in my brain. I'm like, yeah, if you can't give me a definition, you don't get to use it. Download a dictionary.
Yeah. Pep talk. So my daughter has this thing where, you know, she doesn't like when I use, they're called brain rot words. And I'm pretty sure if I use the word or if I use pep talk in a sentence, I get excommunicated from my home. So pep talk, I think I said I said something. I just want to do a vibe check, and I never heard the end of that.
Oh my God, you are so much cooler than me.
I'm so corny. But okay, copacetic. Google Dictionary says in excellent order. So an example is he said to tell you everything is copacetic.
Excellent. I'm going to use that today.
Yes. And, okay. Well, I could get into the etymology. It started in 1919, but, it's more of a slang word. So there you go. You can, if anybody wants to use the word copacetic, just say, if anybody asks you, just Michael or Ronn use that word. We can bring that word back. New title for the
episode.
You know what? I think I just might do that. We might. In fact, I'm going to do it right now on the air. Okay. So this is the title of this episode is called Mentors, Color Inserts.
It's all copacetic.
There we go. It's all copacetic.
I love it.
Although the only thing is, okay, that will be the official episode title. There we go.
This is my favorite thing all day long. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So those are brain rot words. So I love that. I love that. So yeah. So where were we? I think we went down a rabbit hole.
We did. We got very distracted. Where we were.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Review sites. You know, don't slip somebody a 20 to post a 5-star review on your book. It's a very bad idea. There was a very famous author who did this. Oh gosh. Yeah, I'm not going to name names, but gosh, when was that? That was almost 15 years ago.
So I have a question because I see a lot of authors having a street team who will read the book, post about the book. You know, they'll help sort of on launch day or around launch day to share reels and their own reviews and stuff. And then they don't pay them, but they might do one giveaway where they put all their names into a hat and one of them will get sent like maybe a signed copy.
A Kindle or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that copacetic to Amazon terms and conditions, or is that a bit of a blurry line?
I think that's blurry. You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of a long time ago back in the day when people would they would be giving away Kindles, you know, and they'd give away MacBook computers and stuff to people. And if you left a review, you could enter we'll enter a drawing and we'll give you a brand new car or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a little fuzzy. I think technically, if a very strict reading of the terms of service would say that the only thing you can give them in exchange for a review is a copy of the book.
Okay.
And that would be my default. Again, reasonable people can disagree. I think you have to be careful when you're doing this, and I think it's better to be safer than sorry, personally. So nobody wants the smackdown laid on them from Amazon ads.
No, they don't.
Bringing back another. That's not a vintage word, but that's not a vintage phrase, but it's an older phrase.
I mean, it's at least 90s because,
It's at least 90s. Yeah. Lay this, because Amazon does lay the smackdown. We all know that. I mean, how many questions do we get, in a year of people who have had their accounts terminated or,
I do think that's eased up of late.
It seems like it has, but, it feels like it comes in waves. It feels like, everybody's getting their account terminated and then nobody's getting their account terminated. And then it happens again. So we don't want that to happen to anybody listening. Okay. Next question is from Zarina. And okay. So maybe Zarina and Nancy ought to get together, because Zarina says, I help elders with self-publishing their life stories, and I'm running into an issue with them wanting to have color inserts for family photos. However, KDP and Ingram Spark don't do this for print on demand. Is there any way to get this type of printing with a print-on-demand publisher so the family can publish on Amazon and not have to fulfill the orders manually? That's a great question.
So Book Vault do it.
Yeah, Book Vault does it.
Do Book Vault supply to Amazon? I think they can.
I believe they can as well.
You would have to double check, but my gut instinct would be to say try Book Vault, because the other benefit with Book Vault is they only charge per page that's in color, whereas some publishers will turn the whole book color, which would then make it really expensive to do. I have a feeling that Book Vault have the ability via the Great Something.
Yes, they do.
The Great Bookshop or something they call it. Yeah, where they can supply to Amazon.
Yeah, it's right there on their website, the logo.
Perfect.
And we just did, I did a webinar with Alex at Book Vault. And Zarina, if you go into Self-Pub Member Connect, and which is our forum, go to past events. I think it's on the left-hand navigation. It'll be very, very recent. And it was how to distribute your books through Book Vault. And Book Vault did a really good, like an hour-long presentation on this. And I think it would be really beneficial because he talks about the color inserts. And I believe he talks about their distribution options. So check that out. And I think they might be able to meet your needs on this. And they're a partner member.
Yeah, they are. And they're fantastic. I love them.
Yeah, they're great. Okay. Next question is from Aaron. And Aaron is asking the question that we get a lot, but I don't think we can answer it enough. Where can I find the Ingram Spark code for free revision for ALLi members?
So log into the Alliance of Independent Authors website, navigate to discounts and deals, and then they'll search-a-roo using keywords or, type of service that you're looking for. So in this case, it would probably be under something like distribution. And then just have a scroll down and you will find Ingram. Click inside and you will find your code.
All right. So that is a public service announcement. So remember that ALLi members get free revision for Ingram Spark. It used to be free setup and revision, but Ingram Spark now does free setup of titles. So if you want to revise your title, there is a fee, and Ingram does waive that. I believe it's, is it 5 times per month? Or I forget what. I probably should.
Let's not say that just in case.
Yeah.
There's a limited number per month.
Yeah. Okay. So back up. Howard, can we back up and you just cut that out? I'll note that. Okay. So yeah, Ingram does offer free revision for a limited number of times in a set period. So be sure to check that out and definitely take advantage of that, because that's something that we very frequently say that if you use it enough times in a year, it actually can pay for the cost of your ALLi membership. So definitely a way to take advantage of one of our best benefits. Okay. Next question is from Vicky. Okay, so Vicky is asking about translation. I want to get my books translated. However, I'm hesitating over using a translation service, mainly because they will then need to be promoted in whatever language the book is translated into. And though I have tolerable French, my competence in any other language to run Facebook ads, for example, is non-existent. What are other indie authors doing?
What I would say is that between Google Translate and, things like GPT, you can often get a somewhat accurate translation. Accurate enough is what I would say. You can always add a little disclaimer, in the copy to say, I use Google Translate or whatever for this. If it's wrong, don't come for me. But look, a lot of indie authors are going for the easy option. By this, I mean, let's say they've chosen German. They're translating from English into German. They're then putting them into Kindle Unlimited, and they're then using standard text AMS ads to promote it, because then you don't have to add any copy. Like, if you want to use Facebook ads as well, obviously fine, that's your prerogative. But a lot of authors are just using, AMS ads, driving everything to KU. And of course, the other thing that you could do is that you could pay the translation service for another, say, 1,000 words of translation. But those 1,000 words are, say, 100 different hooks, or, 10 different advert copy texts, for example. So, I mean, that is what a lot of authors are doing is, if they're using a human, they just add on an extra 1,000 words or 500 words or whatever it is, however many different iterations of your text and your hooks that you want, and they're getting them to translate it. Or they are using Google Translate GPT. They're using, Scribe Shadow is another one that I know lots of people are using at the moment. And they are just whacking in their ad copy translation hooks into the same services, or getting the same people to translate it for them. So that is kind of what I know that is happening in the community.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that. Sorry. I have mixed feelings about that. On one hand, I understand the need to translate or the desire to translate your books, especially if that seems to be working, right? But I think that, what this reminds me of? This reminds me of everything. I was getting flashbacks when you were talking, because I was transported back to the Kindle Gold Rush, when people would they would slap an ebook together in Microsoft Word. They would do a cover in Microsoft Paint, and then publish a book, and it would sell. And people were pleasantly surprised, right? And then over time, readers started to get savvy and more discerning, and the authors that kind of just phoned it in, found themselves kind of out in the cold. And it feels like, excuse me, man, this is not my day. It feels like authors that are doing that now, like that's a very short-term, short-sighted way. I mean, maybe you can make some money today, but I don't know. I think the quality is eventually going to go up, and everybody's going to have to up their game. Personally, I don't know, that there's something shaky about that doesn't feel right to me. And maybe somebody could explain it to me. And
shaky about using Scribe Shadow.
It's shaky about using AI for translations.
Even for ad copy.
Well, okay. So, but are they ad copy, I have no problem with. I think that
That's
makes
what the
perfect
question
sense.
was.
Yeah.
Question was about advertising copy. Because she wants to do translations, and then how do you advertise it when she doesn't speak the language?
Yeah. Okay, but I am hearing people putting together using AI tools to translate their books.
Yeah. I know lots of people doing and
I-
making big bucks doing it.
They're making good money, and I just, hey, I'm not going to stand in the way of somebody making money, But I think that, if you, I guess, I suppose, get while the getting's good, but I don't think that that's a viable long-term strategy. I think eventually people are going to figure it out. The reason I say that is because Maddie Dalrymple, she's our campaigns manager. Her and I we've co-written 2 books, and we explored translations. Like, I speak Spanish. My Spanish isn't very good, but it's decent. And my wife is a native Spanish speaker. So what we did is we used a tool. I won't name it, but we used a tool, and we had the first couple of chapters of our one of our nonfiction books translated. And I read it, and it was all right. And then my wife read it, and she's like, "Yeah, no, this isn't very good. This isn't what a native speaker would say." I mean, does it make sense? Yes. But is it a quality translation? No. So I suppose as the quality of these tools go up, I mean, they'll never be as bad as they are today, right? So 5 years from now, I think we could be having a totally different conversation. Maybe you will be able to click a button and voila, you have a French, passable French translation, and you can even, tune it down to a particular province. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I
Maybe I
completely
sound
agree.
old fashioned. I don't, but I
don't
just think
think
it's, I just think people should be careful of that, because that seems very short term and short sighted to me.
And I do agree. I do think it's the blue water of translations. I absolutely agree with that. And I think it just depends, like, how, like, what reputation do you want to build, I suppose? Like, if you're getting the AI to do translations, and then you're testing it before you put it in the market with native speakers, and they're like, actually, this is fine, then I don't see why you wouldn't do it. If you're getting feedback that, like, this doesn't seem like a quality translation, but it will do, then that comes down to a judgment for you to make on what you're willing to put out into the market.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is, and I think we both agree, and I think we've answered the question, which is using AI for ad copy. I think that's great. That's a fantastic idea, right? But the only thing you have to think about is, okay, well, how do you engage with people who reply to your comments, right? So,
okay, well, hold on, because if you had a TikTok account, TikTok automatically translates. So
yes,
I have conversations with, like, German speakers. They're speaking German. I get it to translate it. Then I reply in English, and they get it to translate back into German. And then so we're having this two-way conversation in 2 different languages. And it is so cool. It's one of my favorite things that TikTok does. It blows my mind.
Yeah, I wish other platforms did that. And then, you have to also think about newsletters and, you have, I mean, if you're going to commit to another language, you gotta have to commit to the other language, right? Like on YouTube, for example, I have some channels that I follow that I really like. And what they do is if they get to a certain level, they will launch a Spanish channel, where they'll basically put all of their videos on, but they're dubbed. So, somebody will, either they'll use AI or they'll have somebody actually narrate over the video. And the problem with those channels is, like, they'll start a Spanish channel or a French channel, but then if you go to the comments, it's kind of like a ghost town. Like, people will comment, but then the YouTuber doesn't speak the language, and they don't want to do all this extra work because they get, thousands and thousands of comments on their English channel. So there's no engagement with your fans there. So, that's just something you got to be aware of. But yeah, I love that feature on TikTok. That's pretty awesome. Okay. Next question is from William Brinkman. And I'm releasing my fourth book in January, an urban fantasy novel in a series. I expect the editing to be finished by November. I'm concerned that it might not be enough time for ARC readers and editorial reviewers to finish the book in time for the release date. I pushed the release date back as far as I could, and I don't want to lose the pre-orders I have. Am I worrying too much about initial reviews?
Yeah, I would just give them a deadline. I mean, I don't know. That's what I do. I'm like, you're getting the book. When I recruit street teams, I usually tell them how long they're going to get. And I usually say you only get about a week to read it. So do not apply if you don't think you can read a whole book in this week. Because you get to a certain point and you can't bend around readers. You got to get them to bend around you. And I mean that with the greatest of love. But like, you know, readers are incredible and it's fantastic that they generously give their time. But once you know, he's publishing book 4, like obviously there's a bit of a machine now going for him if he's on book 4. There comes a point where you have to just set the boundary of what you can do. You know, the only difficulty I can foresee is Christmas in the way of that, because whilst people do read over Christmas and often read more, sometimes the obligation reading does drop by the wayside because there's family obligations and stuff. So I would probably be asking people, let's say it's releasing at the end of January, or even mid-January, say, I'd probably be giving it to people. What day does January start? I'd be giving it to them on the week of the 5th of January and be saying, you need to read it this week. Because then that's probably a week or two before launch. You don't want them to read it too far before launch because they'll forget. And a lot of the places you can't leave reviews until it's live anyway.
That's right. And whatever you do, like if you give them a week, don't increase your anxiety by publishing that book at the end of that week. Like if you're going to give them a week, technically give them 2, but don't tell them you're giving them 2. Like that's how I would do it because, you know, there's always going to be people that are a little late. Right. Yeah. So, you know, tell them I want it in a week, but then give yourself at least a week flex in case somebody is late. That's, you know, if you can swing that, that's what I would do. But yeah, you're right, Sacha. I mean, we're quickly approaching the holidays, and that's something to really be mindful of. And something I started doing is, you know, if I happen to have a launch that is going to be approaching the holidays, or, you know, sometimes I just need to get it out because I need to work on another project. It's okay to send multiple emails about it. Right. So like if you're requesting something and it's during the holidays, you know, once the holidays are over, you know, maybe send that email again or you know, reword it, but make that the focus of your next newsletter as well. So that because once you start approaching those holiday periods, you really kind of can never get in front of people too much. Emails kind of have a way of just disappearing, or they'll see it, but then they just won't be able to engage. And if you send it again, then maybe they'll be in a better spot after the holidays to where they'll be more receptive.
Well, and also let us not forget that once the book is published, you can still get reviews on it. You can still do a campaign after publication.
Exactly. So you can technically relaunch the book if you wanted to, right? I mean, when I say relaunch, I mean, I just let people know that it's out there. You know, you don't unpublish it and republish it or anything like that, but yeah.
I still I still market my first books as Ruby.
Yeah.
Still to this day, like, you know, nearly 3 years later. So.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think people often forget, you know, that books don't have a shelf life, right? I mean, you control the copyright of your book for your entire life plus 70 years. And that's a long time. That's so much time. It's hard to wrap your head around it, you know, how much time that is. I mean, potentially by the time your books enter public domain, you know, depending on how old you are, I mean, if you start doing this young, you know, you could be talking about your great-grandchildren, you know, benefiting from your copyright. And that just makes people's heads explode sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. So it's, yeah. So your books aren't produce, right? They're not like bananas that get spoiled on the shelf after a couple of days. You can continue. I mean, I just ran a sale on a book that I published 10 years ago, right? So, you know, it's the 10-year anniversary of the book. And I did campaign on it, and it was great. So you can always continue to market your book, as Sacha pointed out. Okay. Next question, and it will be our last question, is from Karen. And Karen says, I have created an imprint name for my books. Should I have a separate website or at least an email address using this name rather than my own name?
No, I don't know why you would do that. Unless you have plans to become a publisher author and publish other people, I don't know why you would do that. It would just cause confusion. I think readers will search for you, the author name, or they'll Google the series name, or they'll Google the book name. They will not even realize that you have an imprint name.
I agree with you. I will say it depends on your distribution model. If you are, if you're going after like libraries or, other venues where you're doing business with people that expect, a storefront, right, or a publishing front, then it could make sense to do that. Like I know somebody who actually does quite a bit of sales in like airports and stuff, and it's more legitimate for her to have like a publisher presence as opposed to just dealing with her, the author, right? So, but that's a very narrow use case. I think for 99% of people listening, I would just do a website for your author business. But there is a time and a place to have a publisher imprint site. That's just my point. But that may not apply to everybody. Yeah, I just think of the stress of managing multiple websites. I mean, I already have 2 websites now. Having a website as a publisher, because it's basically going to be the same information, right? So how do you, I mean, if you want to pay the money and the time and the effort to maintain, 2 different websites, but I think we can agree you need to have an author website.
Yes.
You must have an author website. Like that's not negotiable. I think that the question, if I could rephrase your question slightly, Karen, is, should I have a publisher website in addition to my author website? And I think the answer for most people listening to this is no. But there is a time and a place for that as you get further down the road. But I think if you're just starting out, it's not worth it. Okay. Well, hey, Sacha, we're at the bottom of another episode. Thank you for listening to Self-Publishing with ALLi. Please remember that the next episode, we're going to have business theme. So please submit all of your business questions. And if for those of you who submitted a marketing question, thank you so much. We will, we have just a couple of you who had some additional questions. We will get to those next month. And with that, thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next month. Bye, Sacha.
You've been listening to Self-Publishing with ALLi with Michael Ronn and Sacha Black. Our weekly self-publishing advice podcast is produced by the Alliance of Independent Authors. Find more author advice, tips, and tools at our Self-Publishing Advice Center, selfpublishingadvice.org. And if you haven't already, we invite you to join our organization and become a self-publishing ally. You can do that at allianceindependentauthors.org.